Chapter 140. Night, Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, Soaring Clouds Peak. Dongbo Shuang, dressed in black, was practicing his spear techniques. He loved to practice his spear techniques at Soaring Clouds Peak. Looking at the vast mountains, he was very open-minded. Ever since he abandoned all obstacles, no one could persuade him otherwise. The Xia People's Elders Guild no longer pressured him. After all, he was ranked last. If they continued to pressure him, at most, he would be chased out of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Since ancient times, it was rare for a substitute elder to be chased out. They had to show some respect to Chao Qing. The resources of the last place were the lowest. Thus, the Xia People's Elders Guild did not feel too much heartache. Take Chao Qing for example. Once he died, the resources he left behind would be left in the sect. Some would be given to the younger generations. Some would be left in the Infernal Palace. For Chao Qing, they could not force Dongbo Shuang too much. Without any obstacles, Dongbo Shuang's days were leisurely. If he did not want to practice, he would go to the Xia History Pavilion to read through the scrolls or drink with his friends. Suddenly, he had an epiphany and came to Soaring Clouds Peak to practice. Just like that, his spear techniques improved very quickly. Hong hong hong, Dongbo Shuang's silhouette became blurry. Around him, a strong gust of wind blew. The spear caused layers upon layers of high-pressure shock waves in the air, causing the surrounding scene to become blurry. It was as if there was endless thunder. Ho, one after another, illusory Jiao dragons rushed out and flew into the sky. Each Jiao dragon was bigger than the previous one. When the sixth Jiao dragon appeared, it was about 10 feet long. It flew across the sky, traversed a few miles, and landed on a mountain peak. With a loud boom, countless rocks fell from the mountain peak. If other transcendents were to see this, they would definitely be shocked. This was because the shockwave created by the spear was already so powerful. It was unbelievable. Weaker Saint Primary Phase transcendents might not even be able to withstand such a terrifying spear. Suddenly, Dongbo Shuang stopped. The surroundings gradually quietened down. Even the peak of Soaring Clouds Peak was silent. Wielding the spear with both hands, Dongbo Shuang had a smile on his face. 2 more arms appeared from beneath his armpits, and they were also wielding a black spear. Following that, 2 more arms appeared. These 2 arms were also holding onto a black spear. 6 arms. They all wore the same sleeves and held the same black spear. Water and fire as the bones, wind as the form. Well, I've managed to create this phantom. After half a year of perfecting it, I'm starting to be able to use it in actual combat. Dongbo Shuang was rather pleased with himself. The combination of illusion and reality, this is a good spear technique. The profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind were perfectly fused together. This allowed Dongbo Shuang to discover more possibilities, for example, the phantom. He felt that this would be of great help to his spear arts, so he immediately immersed himself in pondering over it. Now, he had gradually gained some understanding. The illusory arms and the illusory spear were becoming more and more real. During a life-and-death battle, if I were to suddenly have 6 arms and 3 spears, the enemy would probably be scared silly. Dongbo Shuang was rather pleased with himself. Although the illusory arms and spears were all fake, they were able to confuse the enemy, causing them to not know which spear to block. Naturally, the threat of his spear technique would increase tremendously. Phantoms were actually extremely frightening. It would be hard for the enemy to differentiate the real from the fake. If they blocked the wrong spear, they might lose their lives. If they were to block 3 spears at the same time, the difficulty would be 10 times higher than blocking a single spear. Furthermore, this was only for now. Dongbo Shuang had only cultivated for a short period of time. With the perfect fusion of the 3 profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind, he would be able to display even more terrifying prowess. Dongbo Shuang raised his head to look at the sky. It's almost daybreak. Today, we are supposed to welcome Mage Jing Qiu. I really didn't expect that the Mage Jing Qiu from back then would become a transcendent so quickly. To begin with, a mage would take a much longer time to become a transcendent than a knight. Among the mages, Jing Qiu was already considered very powerful. Whoosh! Dongbo Shuang immediately turned into a ray of light and flew across the sky. The place to welcome Mage Jing Qiu was still the residence of the Eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Qi Bai. After all, Qiu Qi Bai was the leader of the group of transcendents in the Tranquil Sun province. Everyone respected him. At noon, Dongbo Shuang arrived slightly ahead of time. Snow Eagle, you're here. Brother Snow Eagle, have a seat. After more than 10 years, everyone was already very familiar with each other. Dongbo Shuang also smiled and greeted him. Although he had been demoted to the lowest position in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, the matter of him becoming a substitute elder had always been a secret and was never made public. In the outside world, countless transcendents still admired Dongbo Shuang. He was also very famous and had the title of a transcendent genius. Dongbo Shuang sat down cross-legged and smiled at a delicate youth beside him. Yuan Qing, you're here so early as well. I thought you would be cultivating in your own residence and only rush here at the last moment. Amongst all the female transcendents in the Xia people with good looks and temperament, Jing Qiu would probably be ranked first. Jing Qiu stepped into the hall. Her gaze swept across and landed on Dongbo Shuang. Her lips curled into a smile. Finally, I have become a transcendent and can stand beside you. Chapter 141. How sharp were the senses of transcendence? Everyone instantly confirmed that Mage Jing Qiu was currently looking at Dongbo Shuang. Dongbo Shuang also felt it. Their gazes met. This feeling, Dongbo Shuang felt his heartbeat quicken. Sister Jing Qiu is staring at brother Snow Eagle. Wow, both of them are from Azure River County, right? TSK. I'm afraid there's a story behind this. Peng Shan laughed. I think there's a story behind this as well. Looking at Sister Jing Qiu's eyes and brother Snow Eagle's expression, woo-woo. I'm almost moved to tears. Qingling Shu said. Dongbo Shuang felt somewhat ashamed. Jing Qiu smiled. Dongbo Shuang saved my life before. A hero saving a beauty? Peng Shan stared. There really is a story behind this. Qi Qiu Bai shook his head. Jing Qiu, sit down first. Hai Ruzhen said. Yes, teacher. Jing Qiu said, then obediently sat down. Peng Shan shouted, Brother Snow Eagle, don't be so silent. Hurry up and tell us, what happened? How did you become a hero saving a beauty? At that time, Mage Jing Qiu and I received the same Black Iron mission. Dongbo Shuang said, during the mission, we met with some danger and trouble. In the end, only Mage Jing Qiu and I survived. I was lucky enough to save Mage Jing Qiu, but I almost died. Actually, since we are comrades on the same mission, helping each other is something I should do. It's nothing much. Only the two of you survived. Qingling Shu's eyes shone, that sounds very tempting. What happened next? A hero saving a beauty. Did the beauty repay him with her body? What are you talking about? Peng Shan stared, is Sister Jing Qiu that kind of girl? It should be a secret love, and when the conditions are right, success will follow naturally. Sister Jing Qiu, Brother Snow Eagle, am I right? The other transcendents were still fanning the flames. Alright, stop teasing my disciple. Hai Ruzhen said, after that mission, Jing Qiu stayed at the Eternal Wind Academy. Afterwards, I heard that Brother Snow Eagle fell into the Black Wind Abyss. Everyone was just joking. After a while, they changed the topic. As they ate and drank, they chatted casually. Soon, they talked about the transcendent battle of life and death. After all, whether it was Yuan Qing or Jing Qiu, both of them would be facing their transcendent battle of life and death. Little brother Yuan Qing, you've become a transcendent at such a young age. Set Snow Eagle as your goal. He's won 9 matches. Qing Ling Shu said. I'm not asking for much. You just need to win 6 matches. Little sister Ling Shu, it seems like you won a lot of money from betting on Brother Snow Eagle's transcendent battle of life and death. You want to continue winning. Peng Shan beamed, but Yuan Qing doesn't have a primordial bloodline. Winning 6 matches isn't easy. It's precisely because it wasn't easy that we lost so much, Qing Ling Shu said. But Dongbo Shuang already had the profound mysteries of water and fire that had mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. His efficiency had increased by 10 times, and he would probably be able to step into the Saint Realm within 20 to 30 years. Nobody was jealous. Because during the transcendent battle of life and death, he was already at the 2nd level of myriad existences. How could they compare? Saint Realm? Dongbo Shuang was very calm. After staying in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world for a long time, and being taught by the 2 demigods, Gong Yu and Si Kong Yang, he had already subconsciously thought that the Saint Realm was nothing. 2 months later. Infernal Palace, Hall of Life and Death. An extremely lively transcendent battle of life and death was being held here. The main character was the extremely young and newly advanced transcendent Yuan Qing. Yuan Qing was too young, and was very close to the age of Dongbo Shuang. Naturally, it attracted many transcendents to spectate. There were even quite a few demigods who came. The mortals of the Xia capital were even more crowded. The entire Hall of Life and Death was boiling. Beautiful. Qiu Qi Bai, Peng Shan, Dongbo Shuang, Jing Qiu, Hai Ru Zhen and the other transcendents of the Tranquil Sun province were gathered together at the eastern viewing area, overlooking the ongoing battle. Yuan Qing's combat power was truly astonishing. Amazing. Qiu Qi Bai praised. Dongbo Shuang looked downwards, understanding in his heart, it seems that the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world will have another junior disciple. Yuan Qing had actually begun to fuse the profound mysteries of light and darkness together. Even though he was unfamiliar with it, it was not like when he created the water and fire twin dragon attack, a killing technique that fused profound mysteries together. But without a doubt, he had indeed begun to fuse them together. The true meaning of light and darkness is a grade 3 true meaning. It is 1 grade higher than my true meaning of water and fire. Dongbo Shuang smiled, but it is also a good thing for the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world to have a junior disciple like Yuan Qing. Dongbo Shuang suddenly realized a problem. The moment Yuan Qing entered the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, wouldn't he be ranked 10th? Who cares about him? In any case, he will be ranked last. Dongbo Shuang laughed at himself, beaming as he watched Yuan Qing's battle. Of course, I hope that 1 or 2 of you can awaken demigods. I used to think highly of Dongbo Shuang. Si Kong Yang swept his gaze across. Among the group of Sky Realm transcendents in front of him, Dongbo Shuang was sitting at a corner, keeping a low profile. Ever since faction head Si Kong Yang and the others were completely disappointed, Dongbo Shuang could no longer be bothered to perform. Because no matter how outstanding his performance was, he would always be reprimanded, and would always be ranked last. Since that was the case, Dongbo Shuang could not be bothered to show off anymore. Amen. Yuan Qing sneaked a glance at Dongbo Shuang. He was rather excited to be selected as a substitute elder. When he saw Dongbo Shuang, he was even happier. After all, even though he and Dongbo Shuang had only known each other for a short period of time, they had similar personalities. But Dongbo Shuang relied on his talent to cultivate recklessly. Si Kong Yang said coldly. The path of the true meaning of water and fire was actually destroyed by himself. Until now, he is still unrepentant. Everyone went silent. Zhuyi glanced at Dongbo Shuang who was sitting at the corner. She had once been moved by Dongbo Shuang. She felt that he was young and had extraordinary talent. In the future, he might even become a demigod. Even though he wasn't extremely handsome, his appearance wasn't bad. The more she looked at him, the more attractive he became. Furthermore, being young was always an advantage. Situ Hong, Zhang Peng, and the rest all felt that they were getting closer to middle-aged men. However, Dongbu Shuang was extremely young. It was a pity that he had destroyed his own future. Without his strength, he would be nothing. Situ Hong was secretly excited as he listened. He loved to listen to faction head Si Kong Yang reprimanding him. The calmest person on the scene was actually Dongbu Shuang. After all, 6 years had passed, and his conviction was incomparably firm. In his heart, he understood, the reason why faction head Si Kong Yang reprimanded him was because he hoped that he would repent and listen to him, starting all over again. After all, Dongbu Shuang was still very young. He still had time to start all over again. Yuan Qing, your talent is extremely high. However, compared to Dongbu Shuang, you are still slightly lacking. Si Kong Yang said indifferently. Therefore, all the more you must not act recklessly and destroy your own future. Yes. Yuan Qing hurriedly replied. At this moment, he was completely confused. He didn't know what had happened previously. How did Dongbu Shuang destroy his path of the true meaning of water and fire? He completely didn't know. However, Si Kong Yang's aura was too tyrannical. Yuan Qing didn't dare to ask any more questions. He only knew that, yes, was the correct answer. A moment later, Si Kong Yang left. Gong Yu spoke a few words before leaving as well. Yuan Qing, as a newcomer, was ranked 5th in the middle. Shuang, on the other hand, was naturally ranked 10th. This group of senior brothers and sisters also introduced themselves to each other. My name is Situ Hong. I'm the oldest amongst us. You can just call me senior brother Situ. Situ Hong was the first to stand out. He smiled and acted like a good senior brother. The others also introduced themselves one by one. Yuan Qing, I'll make a move first. Dongbu Shuang patted on Yuan Qing's shoulder. He immediately streaked across the sky and left. He couldn't be bothered to stay here any longer. He immediately left to read through the scrolls. Yuan Qing nodded. Last night, he and Shuang from the Tranquil Sun province had even spent the entire night drinking. Within the Scarlet Cloud Mountain, he was indeed closest to Shuang. Junior brother Yuan Qing, let me tell you. Situ Hong walked over and whispered, it's better for you to maintain a distance from this Dongbu Shuang. Maintain a distance? Yuan Qing was stunned. Situ Hong explained, he's arrogant and foolish. Didn't you hear what faction head Si Kong Yang said? He was originally walking on the path of the true meaning of water and fire, many people thought highly of him. However, he actually went to comprehend some profound mystery of wind. He created a combination of the profound mysteries of wind, fire, and water. It's such a mess that he destroyed his path of cultivation. Ah! Yuan Qing was slightly shocked. He didn't know about this before. What does senior brother Snow Eagle dare to do? That's why I said he's arrogant, foolish, and conceited. Situ Hong sneered, faction head has reprimanded him many times, but he still doesn't listen. He's still young and has plenty of time to be impudent. In the future, when he's weak and gets bullied, or even killed by some transcendent aboriginals, he'll no regret. Situ Hong, speaking ill of people behind their backs and cursing them, isn't that too much? Pu Yangbo sneered at the side. I'm just telling junior brother Yuan Qing some things. Situ Hong coldly glanced at Pu Yangbo. Yuan Qing silently watched everything. Foolish and conceited? No. Today was the first time he met Si Kong Yang. In front of Si Kong Yang, the pressure was too strong. Senior brother Snow Eagle actually dared to go against faction head Si Kong Yang, and after such a long time, he was still the same person. This wasn't something that could be done by simply being arrogant. It required absolute determination and determination. Ordinary transcendents wouldn't have the courage to resist such pressure. Yuan Qing looked at Situ Hung beside him. He understood that senior brother Snow Eagle and this senior brother Situ Hung were two completely different people. Chapter 143. At most, he would be chased out of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. With such mental preparation, Dongbu Shuang was probably the most carefree out of all his fellow disciples in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain. He would often sit alone in the Xia Pavilion, leisurely drinking wine and flipping through the scrolls. It was as though he had traveled back to the different eras of the Xia people's history, experiencing different stories. In the history of the Xia people, there were wars everywhere, large-scale invasions from demons, almost annihilation of an entire race, and the rampage of demonic beasts. Compared to some of the terrifying disasters in history, the current era was a very peaceful one. Furthermore, as time passed, the foundation of the Xia people grew deeper and deeper. Compared to some of the ancient heroes in history, I, Dongbu Shuang, am still too young and inexperienced. The more Dongbu Shuang saw, the more he understood how shallow he was. Although some of them were not able to ascend to godhood, it did not mean that they were weak. When they were demigods, some of them even had strength close to that of a god. Some of them fought against other races, some of them fought against demons, and finally died in battle. If they had enough time, some of them might even become gods. Half a year later, Jing Qiu also began her transcendent battle of life and death. Dressed in a green robe, Jing Qiu stood there, her fine black hair draping over her shoulders. She naturally emitted a faint cold aura, giving off a feeling that no one would dare to approach her. So beautiful. The transcendents were somewhat shocked. Countless mortals were completely stunned. After stepping into the transcendent realm, one's hair, skin luster, and eyes would all undergo a transformation. That was why such a soul-stirring beauty could appear. A transcendent female mage, as long as she was not too old and had a decent appearance, coupled with the temperament of a transcendent female mage, she would usually have many pursuers. Zhuo Yi sat and watched the battle, snorting coldly in her heart. It's just a face. It was not only Zhuo Yi. At this moment, there were quite a few beautiful female transcendents who were also unhappy. Because they all felt a huge threat. Of course, most of the female transcendents were just envious. The battle began. In the transcendent battle of life and death, transcendent mages were at a disadvantage. They were forbidden from using any magic equipment, and could only use the most common of staffs. No wonder beauties are favored. Watching her fight is a pleasure. Dongbu Shuang smiled. He tried his best to remain calm, but in the depths of his heart, he had a special feeling towards Jing Qiu. Back when he first met her in the Dragon Mountain Manor in Azure River County, he already had that special feeling. Not good. Finally, he finished this chapter. Pull down the recommendation ticket. Chapter 144. For a demigod to be comparable to a god? At the very least, nobody in this era could do so. Even great elder Ao Lan, who grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning, was only ranked second in the demigod rankings. The group of demigod overlords at the apex all had their own specialties. Nobody could say that a single demigod would be able to defeat all the other demigods. Even a single demigod would find it hard to kill an apex demigod. From this, one could see how terrifying the power of this deity treasure of the Xia people was. Wielding it would allow one's combat power to surpass all other demigods. Comparable to a god. This clan protection deity weapon was not something an ordinary deity could obtain. It was the ancestor of the Xia clan who had thought of ways to send it back to their homeland as a clan protection treasure. But because it was too powerful, most demigods could not use it. Only those whose souls could resonate with this powerful deity weapon would have an easier time using it. Only demigods could use it. Ladies and gentlemen. A new meeting of the elders was held. The infernal palace head, the black-haired old man, said, Jing Qiu's importance need not be mentioned. This secret is only known by the elders of the Xia people. It must not be leaked. Right. As long as Jing Qiu becomes a demigod, then our Xia people will have given birth to a god with a lifespan of 3,000 years. These elders of the Xia people were all looking forward to it. Gods could not enter the major transcendent worlds, but demigods could. Jing Qiu could rely on that deity treasure to sweep across the major transcendent worlds, including the Beast Clan. For the Beast Clan and the transcendent natives to recover, it would take a long time. The most difficult problem now is how to nurture her into a demigod. The black-haired old man said, Everyone, let's work together and think of a method. We must do our best to nurture her into a demigod. This old man once obtained 3 icy fruits. Chao Qing's shriveled mouth laughed. I originally planned to leave one for that brat Dongbu Shuang, one for the water Taoist faction, and one for the infernal palace, but now, I'll give them all to that little girl Jing Qiu. These 3 fruits should be of great help to her. Brother Chao. Many elders of the Xia people tensed up. Chao Qing said it casually, but this frost fruit was the frost geocentric fruit. It was a spirit fruit that was born from the core of the frost world, one of the 8 large-scale transcendent worlds. Each one was worth more than 50,000 kilograms of origin stones. It was much more precious than Dongbu Shuiying's stone of oceanic boundary. Jing Qiu is quite talented, Chao Qing said. As a mage, she became a transcendent at such a young age. Even if we don't nurture her, she can still become a saint. As long as we do our best to nurture her, there is hope for her to become a demigod. However, the Beast Clan's infiltration of the Xia people is too great. Ao Lan's life magic can't be broken, and I'm afraid that the Beast Clan will find out about Jing Qiu's identity. Don't worry, it's definitely safe in the infernal realm. The black-haired old man nodded. Then what if she returns to her hometown? A senior elder asked. I think, it's worth dispatching a deity warrior to protect her, the black-haired old man said. Yes. I agree. I agree. These elders all agreed. They had already treated Jing Qiu as the most important seedling. As for the other genius transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain, no matter how powerful they were, it would already be amazing if they could produce another Mountain Lord He. They would not be able to change the situation of the entire world. But the moment Jing Qiu became a demigod, she would be able to change the entire situation. Sweep through all native transcendent worlds. Sweep through the Beast Clan. After some discussion, the Xia people's senior elders decided on a series of plans regarding Jing Qiu. For example, how to nurture her, how to guide her, and how to secretly use the resources. The resources of the other 10 genius transcendents of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world combined were far from enough to match up to Jing Qiu. This was something that even demigods would be envious of. The Xia people's senior elders were all willing to do this. Because it was worth it. If they succeeded, they could casually sweep through any major transcendent world and their harvest would be enough. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World. This will be your junior apprentice sister from now on. Si Kongyang smiled. She will be the only female mage that our Scarlet Cloud Mountain world is nurturing. Because she is a mage, she will have a demigod mage to guide her. Jing Qiu. The group of transcendents stared in shock at the girl standing beside Si Kongyang. Dressed in green, her hair fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were like the stars in the sky. During the transcendent battle of life and death, her appearance was recognized by all the transcendents as the most beautiful. With the appearance of such a soul-stirring beauty, even Wen Yong'an and Wu Zhang's eyes couldn't help but light up. So beautiful. Pu Yangbo was almost drooling. Amen. Situ Hong's eyes lit up, his heart itching uncontrollably. Wow. Yu Feng couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Ah, Mage Jing Qiu is here too. Yuan Qing thought to himself. Looks like she has some talent as well. Dongbo Shuang smiled as he watched. Interesting. Too interesting. When Yuan Qing joined the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he felt that it was very interesting. And when Jing Qiu also joined the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Dongbo Shuang was really excited. He felt that his cultivation days in the future would be much more interesting. Jing Qiu's gaze swept across the crowd and met with Dongbo Shuang's gaze. Her face was slightly red. According to the old rules, Jing Qiu will be placed in the middle, number 6. Si Kongyang said, she is a mage. Her improvement in power mainly comes from her research, which is different from the rest of you. Her demigod master will be the judge. You bunch of transcendents better not be overtaken by a female mage. Alright, you guys can get to know each other. After Si Kongyang finished speaking, he immediately left. Master Gong Yu also left very quickly. Only a group of young transcendents remained. Among them, there were many male transcendents whose hearts were already itching. Although Zhuo Yi's extreme Yin body would produce a strong attraction for transcendents, this was a kind of life instinct. It was not something that came from the bottom of the heart. It was a kind of wholehearted love. But Jing Qiu was different. Her beauty and temperament would cause others to like her. Humans loved beautiful objects. Looking at her was a form of enjoyment. Junior Yu, my name is Pu Yangbo. Pu Yangbo was the first to speak excitedly. Just as he was about to say something, Situ Hong grabbed onto his shoulder. A spatial ripple spread out, causing Pu Yangbo to stagger back 2 to 3 steps. This caused Pu Yangbo's expression to change. Situ Hong smiled and said, Junior Yu, this Pu Yangbo has always liked to chase after female transcendents. It is best to stay away from this kind of person. I am Situ Hong, and I am only a step away from grasping a spatial true meaning. I should be the fastest among us generals to grasp a true meaning. In the future, becoming a demigod will not be difficult. Situ Hong tried his best to make his smile even more radiant and amiable. Yesterday during the transcendent battle of life and death, when he saw Jing Qiu, Situ Hong became excited. She was too beautiful. She was simply the most perfect creation of the heavens and earth. Such a perfect creation, he definitely had to get his hands on it. But he also understood that he would have many competitors. He did not expect that Jing Qiu would actually come to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. That's great, the heavens are helping me. In the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, who else could compete with me? As for Junior Zhuo Yi, who he had chased before, Junior Zhuo Yi had always been hanging on to him. After so many years, he had not even held her hand. If he did not grasp a true meaning, Junior Zhuo Yi would not even give him a chance. Now that he saw Jing Qiu, he had completely thrown Zhuo Yi to the back of his mind. Senior Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu opened her mouth. Her voice was very pleasant to listen to. What? Many people were stunned. Situ Hong was even more dazed. She called out, Senior Snow Eagle. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over Situ Hong's heart. What a coincidence, to see you here too, Senior Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu took a step forward and floated in front of Dongbo Shuang. Chapter 145. As the two of them walked together, a simple sentence broke the hearts of many transcendents beside them. There's no hope, there's no hope. Pu Yangbo muttered, listen, all of you listen. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. I can't take it anymore. AI, why don't the ones I like me? Because your eyes are too high and your legs are too short. Zhang Peng laughed, haven't you always wanted to find a wife? How many mortal beauties are there in the world? What I want is to grow old together. Do you understand? Pu Yangbo glared. Female transcendents were few in number. Beautiful female transcendents were even harder to pursue. I don't understand, but I know. If you continue like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to find a wife by the time your hair turns white. Zhang Peng joked. I can't be bothered to talk to you. The person I admire the most now is junior brother Dongbua. Junior brother, congratulations. You're really amazing. When are you going to teach me some moves so that I can successfully pursue a female transcendence? Pu Yangbo shouted. Dongbua Shuang was stunned. No, I and senior brother Snow Eagle have known each other since we were mortals. Jing Qiu said. Oh, so you've known each other since you were mortals. Looks like there's no hope for the other transcendents. Yu Feng said. Of course there's no hope. Pu Yangbo sneered, many of the transcendents had wives before. It's just that their wives died of old age. Losing to disciple brother Dongbo, I wholeheartedly accept it. Disciple brother Dongbo is a good person, and he's also young. Oh, if I think about it carefully, disciple brother Dongbo should be younger than disciple sister Yu by 3 years. Yes. Dongbua Shuang nodded. But when senior brother Snow Eagle's name shook the entire Azure River County and killed Xiang Pang Yun, I was still a Silver Moon mage. Jing Qiu looked at Dongbua Shuang and said, her eyes glowing. Her feelings towards Dongbua Shuang were somewhat complicated. Back then, he had saved her when she was in despair, and he was deeply imprinted in her heart. At the very least, she could not forget him. Later on, she often heard news about Dongbua Shuang. When she thought that Dongbua Shuang had died, she was devastated for a long time. Later, in the Xia capital, he saw Dongbua Shuang become a transcendent. Even the transcendent battle of life and death was dazzling. Genius. Amazing. In her heart, the person she admired the most was Dongbua Shuang, although there were more powerful transcendents, such as demigods. However, she had witnessed the rise of Dongbua Shuang, so this kind of worship was naturally nurtured. Especially when she saw Dongbua Shuang chatting happily with the other transcendents in the sky, she felt a little sad. Because she didn't even have the qualifications to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Because she was not a transcendent. She didn't look for Dongbua Shuang, instead, she immersed herself in research. Finally, 16 years after the transcendent battle of life and death, she finally broke through to become a transcendent. That day, in Qiu Qibai's mansion, when their gazes met, she was incomparably happy. Because, she could finally stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Junior brother Dongbua might have been dazzling when he was young, but now, he has gone down the wrong path. Situ Hong suddenly spoke, with a pained expression. Gone down the wrong path. Jing Qiu was startled. Yes, he destroyed his own future, and is destined to be a nobody with no future. At most, he will become a weaker saint transcendent. This caused the demigods to be extremely furious. Now, in our Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, he is ranked last. Junior sister Jing Qiu, now that you're here, he will be ranked 11th. Situ Hong said. What a pity, his original future was bright, but now, Jing Qiu couldn't believe it. The Dongbua Shuang that she worshipped really caused the demigods to be extremely furious, and he destroyed his own future. It's just a difference of ideals. The demigods are indeed furious. Dongbua Shuang nodded, then glanced at Situ Hong and sneered, Situ Hong, didn't you say before, that I, Dongbua Shuang, am not worthy to be your junior brother? Is being your junior brother a disgrace to you? Jing Qiu was startled. She wasn't stupid, and immediately felt that the relationship between the two wasn't right. Sigh. Situ Hong shook his head, Junior brother Dongbua, you are after all a part of my Scarlet Cloud Mountain, so naturally, you are my junior brother. The reason why I said that before, was to encourage you. Just like how faction head Si Kong Yang scolded you time and time again, it was also because I hoped that you would turn over a new leaf. Sigh, but from the looks of it, it's impossible for you to turn over a new leaf. I won't be a bad person anymore. Continue acting. Pu Yangbo sneered at the side, you discovered that junior brother Dongbua and junior sister Yu are close, so you started acting? Junior brother Pu Yang, I'm not acting. All these years, Dongbua is first from the bottom, and you are second from the bottom, and you guys don't care. I'm the oldest senior brother. I'm just anxious for you guys. Situ Hong said with a pained heart. When Situ Hong saw the conversation between Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu, he immediately understood that the relationship between the two wasn't ordinary. So if he wanted to woo Jing Qiu, he had to change his plan. The mind of a transcendent changed very quickly, and he quickly decided on a new plan. Humph, Dongbua Shuang, this foolish and arrogant brat, I'll coax you first. After I woo junior sister Jing Qiu, when she stands on my side, I'll ruthlessly kick you away. Situ Hong thought to himself. Interesting. Dongbua Shuang suddenly laughed. The others all looked at Dongbua Shuang. In terms of hypocrisy, Dongbua Shuang looked at Situ Hong. Even if the rest of us in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world were added together, we still wouldn't be able to match up to you. Situ Hong's heart was instantly filled with rage, but on the surface, he still maintained a smile. Forget it, just treat it as me looking down on you. I'm looking down on you. You're so frivolous, so lazy in your cultivation that even the demigods are heartbroken. How can I look up to you? If you want me to look up to you, you'll have to start all over again. At that time, faction head Si Kong Yang will give you another chance. Senior brother Snow Eagle, accompany me for a walk. I'm still not very familiar with the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Jing Qiu said. She also felt that the atmosphere wasn't right. After all, it was her first time here, and only Yuan Qing and Dongbua Shuang were familiar with each other. She wasn't too familiar with the other senior brothers and sisters. All right. Dongbua Shuang nodded his head. So. The two of them immediately soared into the sky. Situ Hong's face was slightly pale. Zhue Yi coldly snorted, then flew towards her own bamboo house. A certain someone doesn't even know how old he is, and he still dares to fight with junior brother Dongbua. His skin is really thick. Pu Yangbo sneered, then left with Yu Feng, Zhang Peng and the rest. Just you wait, today is the first time I've met junior sister Jing Qiu. We're not that close. In the future, we'll be together in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, and we'll have a long time together. Situ Hong thought to himself. He had enough confidence that he wouldn't even look up to the other males in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. As for Dongbua Shuang, from his point of view, Dongbua Shuang was ranked last, and wasn't even worthy of fighting with him. Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu were flying side by side in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. The mountains were endless, and there was a layer of fog in between the mountains, making it look like a dream. So beautiful. Jing Qiu exclaimed. I really didn't expect this. Dongbua Shuang laughed. We met during the first Black Iron mission, and now, we're flying side by side in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Jing Qiu nodded her head lightly. Everything felt like a dream. That year, she was still a weak mage hiding under the protection of Dongbua Shuaying's body under the collapsed palace. Now, she was also a powerful transcendent, just that Dongbua Shuaying had clearly walked even further. Senior brother Snow Eagle, can you tell me about it? How did you enrage the demigods? Jing Qiu asked. As for the last-ranked Xia people, he was the most fanatical in his cultivation. Other than spending part of his time reading scrolls in the Xia History Pavilion, he spent the rest of his time cultivating in the Soaring Cloud Peak. This level of fanaticism made the other young transcendents speechless. They were puzzled. Wasn't it tiring to cultivate so crazily? Shouldn't there be tension and relaxation during cultivation? Wouldn't he go crazy if he kept forcing himself and his nerves were always stretched taut? But in reality, Dongbua Shuang had never felt tired. Because, he had always been fanatical about it. What he cultivated was what he loved, what he was addicted to. At the peak of the Soaring Cloud Peak, the sunset glow shone on the distant mountain peak. It was a beautiful sight. Jing Qiu, who was dressed in white, was sitting on the ground. A huge conical spell model was floating in front of her. She stared at the spell model, and from time to time, a part of the spell model would collapse and reform. After pondering for a long time, she raised her head and looked at the young man in black who was walking on the peak. She couldn't help but have a sweet smile on her face. Dongbo Shuang seemed to have sensed something. He looked at Jing Qiu and smiled as well. Ever since Jing Qiu came, the reason why he cultivated so passionately was because Jing Qiu was accompanying him. Jing Qiu also liked to come to the soaring cloud peak. She did not disturb Dongbo Shuang. Instead, she studied the nature of heaven and earth and pondered over the spell model. Dongbo Shuang, on the other hand, was studying the spear. The two did not speak much. They cultivated on their own. But when their gazes met, they could feel each other's thoughts. Occasionally, they would have a casual chat. In their lonely cultivation, they had become each other's confidants and companions. As time passed, both of them understood each other's feelings. Dongbo Shuang had indeed fallen in love with Jing Qiu. When they first met, his heart was moved. Moreover, they were confidants in cultivation. As time passed, their feelings for each other deepened. Jing Qiu had already fallen in love with Dongbo Shuang. After spending some time with him, her feelings for Dongbo Shuang grew deeper. Although both of them had feelings for each other and knew each other's feelings, they did not plan to get married immediately. As transcendents, they had long lives. They preferred to let their feelings for each other take their course. When they felt that it was time for them to get married, they would probably get married. As for now, both of them needed to spend a lot of time on cultivation. They were not in a hurry to get married. What's wrong? Dongbo Shuang walked on the mountain peak in distress. Suddenly, another Dongbo Shuang appeared beside him. Following that, another Dongbo Shuang squatted beside a rock not far away. 3 Dongbo Shuang were on the mountain peak. One was walking, one was lying down, and one was squatting. They were either frowning in deep thought, feeling troubled, or mumbling to themselves. I've already reached the 3rd level in the realms of myriad existences. In terms of illusions, it should be not bad. But in terms of offense, it's still lacking. One of the 3 Dongbo Shuang lightly pierced out with his finger. The finger pierced out. It was as if wind, fire, and water were intertwining around the finger. It was as if nothing could stop it. It pierced through the air, creating a visible shockwave. This shockwave traveled through several kilometers and landed on a tall mountain. With a pu sound, the shockwave directly pierced a deep hole on the mountain wall, so deep that one could not even see the bottom. Just the power of a finger was much stronger than some complete grade 9 or 8 true meanings. This is not what I want. The spear technique I want, this stab, should be even purer. Everything as one, this stab will be unleashed. The 3 Dongbo Shuang were all mumbling to themselves. I can't understand at all. Suddenly, the other 2 Dongbo Shuang disappeared, leaving only one Dongbo Shuang sitting on a rock. Taking out a flask of wine, he raised his head and gulped it down. At this moment, Jing Qiu, who was beside him, stopped. The spell model floating in front of her also dissipated. She smiled at Dongbo Shuang, senior disciple Snow Eagle, don't force yourself too much. In terms of combat power, the others in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world are no match for you. If you are so disappointed, shouldn't the others find a piece of tofu to kill themselves? Find a piece of tofu to kill themselves. Dongbo Shuang raised his head and looked at Jing Qiu, laughing. Jing Qiu, I have never thought of comparing myself with others. I just feel that my profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind have already reached the 3rd level in the realms of myriad existences, and I have even fused them together. This feeling of imperfection is like having a fly in a pot of soup, making me feel uncomfortable. Then you have to work hard. I can only cheer for you from the side. Jing Qiu laughed. Her eyes were filled with a trace of worship. As a powerful transcendent mage, she would naturally quantify Dongbu Shui Ying's combat power. Dongbu Shui Ying was too lazy to reveal his strength in front of the other demigods. Thus, Jing Qiu was the only one who knew how powerful he was. After quantifying his strength, Jing Qiu was clear that even though the other 9 transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world were outstanding, Dongbu Shui Ying had already surpassed all of them. First chapter. Furthermore, it was different from Elder Ao Lan's true meaning of life, which was more mysterious and unpredictable. Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai's true meaning of space cleavage was a true meaning that was extremely ferocious in battle. Dong dong dong, on this day, the drums of the infernal palace resounded, shaking the heavens and earth. The entire Xia capital was in jubilation. The human transcendents were all very proud and excited, they all agreed that Eternal Wind Knight Qiu Qi Bai should have the strength of the top 10 demigods. In a few hundred years, he would probably be ranked first on the demigod list. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, halfway up the Bamboo House Mountain, Dongbu Shui Ying and the other transcendents were gathered here. He's here. Eternal Wind Knight is here. Dongbu Shui Ying, Jing Qiu, and the other transcendents raised their heads to look. In the distance, there were 4 figures flying side by side, just like 4 deities. The one leading them was the Infernal Palace head. Although his combat power was relatively weak, firstly, he was unparalleled in the infernal world. Secondly, he had truly dedicated himself to the Xia people. Naturally, his status was special. Beside the Infernal Palace head were Si Kong Yang, Qiu Qi Bai and Gong Yu. Eternal Wind Knight is really handsome. Senior apprentice Sister Zhui Yi's eyes lit up. Compared to Eternal Wind Knight, Situ Hong and Dongbu Shui Ying are far too lacking. They are too immature. Situ Hong glanced at Zhui Yi and thought, do you think Eternal Wind Knight will look up to you? Ever since Situ Hong started pursuing Jing Qiu, he and Zhui Yi had completely parted ways. This is my chance. Eternal Wind Knight is the only demigod who has grasped hold of a branch of the true meaning of space. Situ Hong's eyes lit up. His guidance will be 100 to 1,000 times better than the guidance of other demigods. I must grasp this chance. They're here. This is our chance. Zhang Peng, Pu Yangbo and Yu Feng were all excited. After all, they were all comprehending the profound mysteries of space. So. 4 demigods descended from the sky. Greetings to the 4 seniors. Dongbu Shui Ying and the other transcendents bowed respectfully. Your luck is extremely good this time. Faction head Si Kong Yang said, Eternal Wind Knight has just broken through to become a demigod and needs to consolidate his foundation. Thus, we allowed him to come to this Scarlet Cloud Mountain world to meditate. He will also give you a few pointers. He is the only demigod of our Xia people who has grasped hold of a grade 3 true meaning. Speaking of which, Situ Hong, Zhang Peng, the 2 of you should be around the same age as Eternal Wind Knight, right? Situ Hong and Zhang Peng turned silent. That's right, they were just over 300 years old. Eternal Wind Knight is already a demigod, yet the 2 of you have yet to comprehend a true meaning related to space. Si Kong Yang swept his gaze across, pausing on Dongbu Shui Ying for a moment. As for the others, all of you should focus on going against the style of a high official. Si Kong Yang then looked at Qi Qiu Bai with a smile, how you want to guide these little fellows, it's up to you. If you don't have the time and are too lazy to guide them, then it's up to you. Qi Qiu Bai would very likely become the #1 expert under the heavens in a few hundred years. Naturally, everything would be decided by Qi Qiu Bai. I didn't know that our Xia people have a plan to groom substitute elders. Qi Qiu Bai smiled as he swept his gaze across. Snow Eagle, Mage Jing Qiu, Yuan Qing, I didn't expect the 3 of you to be in the list of substitute elders. It seems that our Tranquil Sun province has many talents. This is bad. Situ Hong's heart sank. From the looks of it, Qi Qiubai and Dongbu Shuang had a good relationship. Snow Eagle, you're actually ranked first from the bottom. Qi Qiubai laughed. This time, when I came to the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, I knew your ranking in advance. When I saw that Snow Eagle was ranked first from the bottom, I was shocked for a long time. I'm ashamed. Dongbu Shuang shook his head helplessly. This Dongbu Shuang is too arrogant and conceited. Faction head Si Kong Yang said coldly. He cultivates as he pleases. He actually broke his own true meaning of water and fire. Furthermore, I gave him a direction to cultivate, but he completely ignored it. Right, this Dongbu Shuang is too impudent. Gong Yu agreed. Faction head, I don't agree with your way of thinking. Qi Qiubai said. Faction head Si Kong Yang was stunned. Everyone else was stunned. Zhue Yi, Wen Yong'an, Dou Rou, Yuan Qing, Jing Qiu, Wu Zang and the rest were all shocked at this scene. In public, Qi Qiubai actually directly denied faction head Si Kong Yang's words. If Dongbu Shuang dared to talk back, faction head Si Kong Yang would definitely reprimand him. But now that Qi Qiubai refuted him, faction head Si Kong Yang was momentarily speechless. Because of the difference in their statuses, Qi Qiubai's current strength was extremely high. It was very close to Si Kong Yang's. In the future, he would become the number one under the heavens, surpassing even Mountain Lord He. For such a person, anyone would have to think twice before saying anything. Eternal Wind, you don't agree with what I said? Faction head Si Kong Yang asked. His attitude was completely different from how he treated Dongbu Shuang. Cultivation is a very personal matter. Qi Qiubai sighed. Cultivation is the convergence of a person's wisdom, perception, and comprehension of life. I don't agree with others setting a direction for themselves. That is too reckless. Chapter 148. Reckless? How so? Abbey head Si Kong Yang frowned. Cultivators have worked so hard to become transcendents. How can others set a direction? Qiu Qibai said, if the direction is wrong, who will be responsible? Abbey head Si Kong Yang was startled. He then sneered, if a senior sets a direction, the chances of success will be higher. If you cultivate blindly, the chances of failure will be higher. If you choose wrongly, you will have to bear the consequences. There is nothing to say. Why should a senior set a direction for me? I worked so hard to become a transcendent. Why should my cultivation direction be set by a so-called senior? Qiu Qibai retorted, Dongbu Shuang has become a transcendent. He should walk his own path. Why must you force him? Si Kong Yang said, you clearly know that he is going to take a detour. Why do you want to watch him walk? Qiu Qibai's voice was very soft, if we don't even have freedom, how can we be called transcendents? Being a mortal is more carefree than being a transcendent. If I was given a chance, I would rather be a mortal. Abbey head Si Kong Yang went silent. He understood Qiu Qibai's feelings. He remembered that figure holding a long blade and laughing in the rain. He remembered that figure whose hair turned white overnight. Sigh. Si Kong Yang sighed in his heart. Everyone. Qiu Qibai swept his gaze across the 11 people in front of him. His eyes were filled with pressure. Qiu Qibai will guide you in the next half a year. I am a straightforward person. If I can guide you, I will not hide it. However, I will remind you to ponder over it. Your path is for you to walk. No matter if it is good or bad, you will have to bear the consequences yourself. Zhang Peng, you are proficient in the profound mysteries of Space Edge. Qiu Qibai looked at Zhang Peng. Yes. Amongst the group, Zhang Peng was slightly nervous. My true meaning of cleaving space is somewhat similar to your Space Edge. Qiu Qibai smiled, attack me with your full strength. Qiu Qibai was a very competent leader. At least, he was much more competent than Gong Yu and Si Kong Yang. This was also the difference in their horizons. Gong Yu, Si Kong Yang, and the others had comprehended weaker true meanings. Facing the guidance of Grade 3 and Grade 2 true meanings, they could only rely on their experience to guide them. Zhang Peng, I think your space blade is quite intelligent, but it's not overbearing enough. Qiu Qibai smiled and said, you can spend more effort on the tyrannical Tao. Of course, this is just my suggestion, it's up to you whether you want to listen or not. You have to remember, any decision, in the end, is made by yourself. Once you've made your decision, you have no regrets. Yes. Zhang Peng nodded. His eyes were bright, as if he had understood something. Yu Feng, attack me. Qiu Qibai said. Yu Feng attacked. Moments later. Interesting. Qiu Qibai was a bit excited, your shadow space mysteries are very mysterious. I think you should develop this kind of sinister attack method even more. Carry forward. Yu Feng was a little puzzled. Right, you have to immerse yourself in it and make yourself a part of the shadow space. Qiu Qibai said, when that time comes, your attacks will be even more stealthy and sinister. At that point, you should be able to grasp the true meaning of shadow space. This is just my suggestion. What you should do is up to you. Yu Feng immediately nodded thoughtfully. Very soon, Pu Yangbo attacked again. Pu Yangbo. Qiu Qibai asked doubtfully, I feel that you have a great talent in teleportation. Furthermore, you are very agile and free when using it. You should like teleportation a lot, right? Yes. Pu Yangbo nodded, I like teleportation the most. I don't really like it when it comes to life and death battles. Then why are you trying to attack now? Using the profound mysteries of space on your attacks? Qiu Qibai asked back. I'm not attacking. My combat power is too weak. Pu Yangbo was doubtful. You have yet to grasp the true meaning. Qiu Qibai said, it's still the early stage of cultivation. There's no need to pursue strength. Since you like teleportation and have a talent in it, then put all your effort into teleportation. Once you reach the pinnacle of teleportation, you will be extremely terrifying. You will definitely be able to grasp the true meaning. Teleportation had different levels of proficiency. The weaker ones, like some demigods, would first tear through space and create a pathway before teleporting to another location. The more powerful ones would use their senses to lock onto a distant location and teleport there. The more powerful ones could teleport with a single thought. The more monstrous ones could teleport even when the space trembled during battle. Last one, Situ Hong. Qiu Qibai said. Situ Hong immediately attacked with all his might. He was at the third level of realms of myriad existences and was obviously much more powerful. After a while, he retracted his attack confidently. Eternal Wind, Situ Hong is the one with the highest realm amongst the four that specializes in the profound mysteries of space. He is already at the third level of realms of myriad existences. He is just a step away from grasping the true meaning. Si Kong Yang, who was at the side, said, you have to guide him well. Situ Hong looked at Qiu Qibai with even more anticipation. Qiu Qibai was silent. Senior Eternal Wind? Situ Hong could not help but shout. Qiu Qibai frowned and muttered, I am unable to guide you. Unable? Situ Hong was stunned, Senior Eternal Wind, how is it possible that you are unable to guide me? Your realm is so much higher than mine. I hope you can give me some simple guidance. Eternal Wind, why don't you tell me his weakness? Faction head Si Kong Yang frowned and said. He only pursued the spear art that he was most passionate about, and no one could persuade or reprimand him. His heart was incomparably firm. Right now, there are two ways, Qi Qiu Bai said. Situ Hong's eyes lit up. 1. Start all over again, Chiu Chi Bai said. Change to a cultivation direction that you can persevere in and that you prefer. No, I've cultivated for more than 300 years. How can I start all over again? Situ Hong shook his head. What's the other way? The other is to sharpen your heart. Chiu Chi Bai said, for example, becoming an ascetic, traveling the world to temper one's heart, making one's heart wider. Your temperament has changed. If you continue to comprehend the profound mysteries of spatial rifts, your efficiency will greatly increase. Ascetic? Situ Hong's eyes were filled with unwillingness. He looked down on ascetics. Transcendence had always been high up above, looking down on countless mortals like ants. Why did they have to become ascetics, walking amongst mortals like beggars? All right, my guidance will end for now. Chiu Chi Bai said. What I said is only a suggestion. You guys can decide what to do. Senior Eternal Wind, we have yet to receive guidance. Wen Yong'an could not help but say. That's right, Senior Eternal Wind. Zhuo Yi smiled charmingly as she looked at Chiu Chi Bai. Wu Tsang, Yuan Qing, and the others all looked at Chiu Chi Bai. I don't understand your cultivation direction, so I can't randomly guide you. Chiu Chi Bai laughed. But during this half a year, I'll be in this Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. You guys can come and spar with me anytime. During the battle, you guys can discover each other's weaknesses. This should be of some help to you guys. That's all I can do. Dongbua Shuang sighed. In terms of qualifications, Chiu Chi Bai was the only human world's demigod with a grade 3 true meaning. He was definitely the most qualified. But he had only guided Yu Feng and the other three in the profound mysteries of space, and nothing else. Cultivation was indeed a very private matter. Very soon, the 4 demigods left. Dongbua Shuang and the others were discussing amongst themselves halfway up the mountain. Situ Hong's expression was the ugliest. I'm not convinced. I don't believe it. Situ Hong growled, what Tao and heart union? That's something needed to become a deity. I just want to grasp the true meaning. My Tao and heart are incompatible, but aren't I still the one with the highest comprehension amongst the 11 of us? You guys can barely even grasp the second level of myriad existences. What's the use of Tao and heart union? How can this Situ Hong say that? Jing Qiu was slightly shocked. All these years, Situ Hong had been pretending to be elegant. But who would have thought that under his madness, he would actually say such words? This had offended everyone here. Senior brother Situ, your heart is in a mess. Wen Yong'an frowned. Am I wrong? No matter what kind of setbacks or difficulties we encounter, even if it's the judgment of the so-called seniors, or even the mistakes we make in cultivation, or the path of cultivation that we've fallen into a fork in the road of cultivation, etc. As long as your heart is burning with passion and perseverance, you will be able to walk a different path even if it seems to be a wrong one. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes were burning with passion. There was a saying among the transcendent sorcerers, all profound mysteries belonged to the world. Thus, from this point of view, any profound mysteries that seemed completely different, contradictory, or strange could be fused together. Be it water, fire, wind, lightning, light, life, or life, death, gravity, everything that seemed completely unrelated could be fused together. Because they were all a part of the world. Transcendence, and even deities, were all advancing on this path of comprehending the laws of nature. The level of a true meaning represents the depth of one's insight into the world. Dongbua Shuang thought. For example, the grade 3 true meanings, the true meaning of gravity, the true meaning of death, the true meaning of extreme yin, the true meaning of extreme yang, the true meaning of destruction, and the true meaning of ripple, were considered to be at a very high level of insight into the world. As for the legends among the legends, in the countless mortal worlds, even in the deity world and the dark abyss, they were all legendary grade 1 true meanings. The true meaning of extremity, the true meaning of black hole, and the true meaning of time were all derived from the core of the world. What they used were the most terrifying laws of nature. There was no such thing as a dead end in cultivation. But if it was too difficult to fuse them together, such as gravity, ripple, and destruction, this was not something that transcendence could accomplish with their limited lifespan. Thus, it was considered a dead end. Even though it is difficult for me to fuse water, fire, and wind. I have already reached the third level in realms of myriad existences. Even though I have met with some small setbacks and am unable to fuse them together perfectly. But none of these can stop me. Dongbu Shuang thought. He had seen too many of the ancestors of the Xia people through countless scrolls. They had all walked out of seemingly dead ends. The more he saw, the more confidence he had. He would definitely be able to overcome all obstacles and break through all obstacles. Only when I am strong enough can I deal with all sorts of dangers in the future. Dongbu Shuang frowned. That's right. Danger was looming over the Xia people. Reading through the scrolls of countless ancestors was tantamount to reading the hidden history of the Xia people from the moment they were born. From these scrolls, Dongbu Shuang knew that the great demon god of the dark abyss had been spying on the world of the Xia people for a very long time. That great demon god had never stopped his ambition. The temple of the earth god also had the support of the deity world. They had always been resisting with all their might. This was a clash between two superpowers. Other than the terrifying great demon god, several other demonic gods were also spying on the world of the Xia people. These demonic gods could project themselves into the world of the Xia people and were extremely powerful. Sometimes, they would even use the legendary temporal temple to send some experts from other races to control the war in the world of the Xia people. The Xia people have been peaceful for too long. And the demonic faction has been keeping a low profile for the past 1,000 years. This is not normal. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself, looking at history, the longer the demonic faction hibernates, the greater the threat they pose when they rise up. Furthermore, the demonic beast clan has been keeping a low profile for the past 1,000 years. At most, the great elder Ao Lan has been stirring up trouble, but there have been no true large-scale wars. The demonic faction had long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the Xia people. From the mortals to the demigods, the shadows of the demonic faction could be seen. A single demonic faction had fought with the 6 great transcendent organizations for so many years. The demonic beast clan and the humans were even more hostile. According to the situation of the Xia people since ancient times, there is a 70% chance that the Xia people will start a large-scale war within 500 years. There is a 90% chance that it will happen within 1,000 years. This was because the lifespan of a demigod was only 3,000 years. Thus, the demonic faction and the demonic beast clan could only stay dormant for 3,000 years. Any longer than that would be meaningless. It was rare for them to stay dormant for more than 1,000 years. This time, the demonic faction and the demonic beast clan had been dormant for too long. If I can deduce this, then the demonic elders of my Xia people should also know this. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. Because he understood the threat looming over him, Dongbu Shuang did not dare to slack off. My spear arts have yet to be perfected. And, looks like I'll have to use life and death to test my spear arts. In the face of death, one would usually be able to perform exceptionally well. However, this sort of thing could not be done too often, because one would be dancing on the edge of death. If it was done too often, one might really die. After all, this sort of tempering required the threat of death. Without the threat, there would be no effect. Early morning. This was true meaning. True meanings by themselves possessed immense power. Ordinary true meanings would find it hard to break his own illusions. His own illusions could already be considered the embryonic form of the grade 3 true meaning, the true meaning of illusions. Dongbo Shuang could feel that as long as he followed down this path, he would be able to grasp the true meaning of illusions. And if the true meaning of illusions was a grade higher, it would be able to reach the legendary grade 2 true meaning, the true meaning of mirage. But these were all just playing around with illusions and mirages. To him, it could only be considered a form of support. It was an unorthodox path. When he battled, he still relied on his true offensive strength. Thus, he had never thought of following down the path of the true meaning of illusions. Even so, this was still the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning. It was not that easy to break. This is my true meaning, the true meaning of water waves. The skinny old man laughed. I really don't know what you Xia people are thinking. You're just a brat who has yet to grasp a true meaning, yet you dare to fight against me. The moment he finished speaking, Hong! The skinny old man leapt up from the ground, turning into a stream of light as he charged towards Dongbu Shuang. His aura was like that of a dragon. Die for me. The skinny old man's palms slapped towards Dongbu Shuang. Clang! His opponent was too fast. Dongbu Shuang hurriedly used the spear in his hand to block the attack. The tip of the spear pierced towards his opponent's palms. However, his opponent's palms were protected by a layer of true meaning. This layer of true meaning was condensed from the laws of profound mysteries. Dongbu Shuaying's spear, which was formed from the condensation of wind, water, and fire, could only pierce through the layer of true meaning with great difficulty. The remnant force of the spear could no longer pierce through the layer of true meaning. Peng! The moment both sides clashed, they separated. Under the impact of both palms, the shaft of the spear was bent, causing Dongbu Shuaying's entire body to fly backwards. Although the shaft of the spear tried its best to dissipate the force, some of the hidden force was still transmitted through the spear and into Dongbu Shuaying's body. It was as though he had fallen into a surging wave. Hong hong hong, an endless stream of hidden energy surged through his body. Pooh! Fresh blood spurted out from his mouth as Dongbu Shuang fell to the ground. He immediately used his hands to support himself. Damn it! Dongbu Shuang could feel his internal organs being lacerated. Propping himself against the ground, fresh blood spurted out from his mouth. Fortunately, he had awakened his primordial bloodline, which granted him a powerful recovery ability. Otherwise, this hidden energy alone would have killed him. Chapter 154. He actually didn't die. After the skinny old man landed on the ground, he laughed savagely. Very good, then you shall experience my strongest strength. As he spoke, his originally thin and small body rapidly became tall and sturdy as if he was being inflated. The muscles on his back bulged up, and under his bulging shoulder blades, 2 white palms stretched out, carrying traces of blood, just like that. In the blink of an eye, the skinny old man had transformed into a sturdy 4-armed old man. Dongbu Shuaying's expression changed slightly, but he wasn't surprised. After all, his opponent was a transcendent native, and he naturally had some innate techniques. Now that his aura had become stronger and he had 4 arms, it should be his innate techniques. Previously, he had severely injured me. Now that his strength has increased and he has 4 arms, it will be too difficult to block him. Dongbu Shuaying's internal organs were recovering rapidly. He swallowed the blood that had reached his throat and stood up. However, I still have to try. This kind of battle will be more interesting. Receive my move. Dongbu Shuang roared out, and he actually took the initiative to charge out. His figure arced through the air, charging towards the 4-armed old man from the side. Eh? You actually dare to take the initiative to attack me? The 4-armed old man laughed coldly as he sent out a palm strike. Hula! The spear was like a huge python, drifting strangely as it lashed out. When it neared the palm, it was actually extremely slippery, slipping past the palm. It was either a whip, a thrust, or a collapse. After suffering a setback previously, Dongbu Shuang knew that his opponent's palm strike contained a hidden impact force. Thus, his battle style changed accordingly. Every single move he made would be retracted as soon as they collided. He was unpredictable and didn't give his opponent any chance to unleash his true strength. He was like a venomous snake that was constantly searching for an opportunity. Once he found one, he would kill with a single strike. He actually couldn't unleash his true strength even once. The four-armed old man was astonished. He had plenty of battle experience, and his true intent of water wasn't the kind of true intent that allowed one to clash head-on. Yet, he couldn't find an opportunity. As long as he made a mistake, he would be severely injured or even defeated. Under such pressure, Dongbu Shuang went all out, pushing himself to his limits as he executed his spear arts to the maximum. This sort of pressure was extremely satisfying. To his heart's content. He had cultivated in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world for more than 20 years, and under this kind of threat, almost every move he made was displayed to its most perfect state. Every move was continuous, and the fusion of the three profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind became more and more perfect. The tricolored profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind intertwined together, condensing into a blurry point that pierced through everything. The four-armed old man was still crazily waving his palms, covering the sky and covering the earth. Facing that crazily thrusting spear, he laughed sinisterly. He was incomparably confident that this human transcendent would definitely not be able to block it. He was afraid that a single palm strike would heavily injure him, and 3 or 4 palm strikes would definitely kill him. Suddenly, Dongbu Shuang, who had stabbed out with the spear, had actually disappeared along with the spear. He had disappeared without a trace. Then, he appeared right in front of the four-armed old man, only 2 to 3 meters away. The tip of the black spear was only 1 chi away from his eyes. How is this possible? The four-armed old man was shocked, and his entire body trembled. How did he suddenly disappear? Did he suddenly appear after passing through space? The tip of the spear was so close to him, and he couldn't even block it in time. Chi! It was too fast. The four-armed old man was merely shocked. Even though he was a transcendent, he couldn't react in time. The spear instantly drew a black arc through the air, piercing through the forehead of the four-armed old man. Although he was protected by a layer of true meaning and transcendent Do Chi. At this moment, the tip of the spear had a terrifying penetrative power. Not only did it pierce through space, it even affected time itself. Shwa! Everywhere the spear passed through, a black line was left behind as it pierced through the head of the four-armed old man. Both sides crossed each other. Dongbu Shuang stood behind the four-armed old man. The four-armed old man stood there in a daze. His head seemed to be uninjured, but in reality, it was only because the attack was too fast that it affected time and space. That was why no wound could be seen with the naked eye. Dying under such an embryonic form of a true meaning. I have nothing to say. The four-armed old man muttered, is this an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning or a grade 1 true meaning? It was too terrifying. That was definitely not a true meaning, because even the laws of profound mysteries had yet to materialize. It should just be an embryonic form of a true meaning. But just an embryonic form of a true meaning was already so frightening. It was much stronger than his complete grade 7 true meaning. It was definitely a legendary existence. At the very least, it should be an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, or perhaps an embryonic form of a grade 1 true meaning that had never appeared in this world since ancient times. To die under such an embryonic form of a true meaning was indeed an honor. Pang! Following that, fresh blood slowly flowed out from his forehead. His body went limp, and he fell to the ground. In a remote courtyard of the infernal palace, within a study. Si Kong Yang's back was ramrod straight as he sat in front of a table. In front of him was a pile of scrolls. He was coldly reading the secret information recorded within. These were all information regarding the Beast Clan and the demonic faction that the 6 transcendent organizations of the Xia people, including the Bloodshed Tavern and the Temple of the Earth God, had investigated. The higher-ups and elders of the Xia people were always on guard against the Beast Clan and the demonic faction. Amen. Si Kong Yang frowned. His communication wristband suddenly received a message. Scarlet Cloud Mountain World's substitute elder, Dongbo Shuang, has completed the special mission Mountain Road. Kid, you're really slippery, but it's useless. With the gap in strength, no matter how much you struggle, it's useless. I won't waste any more time with you. Die. The 4-armed old man's expression was ferocious. He couldn't be bothered to waste any more time and directly used the most barbaric method of battle. His 4 arms started to attack Dongbo Shuang crazily. At the same time, he was approaching Dongbo Shuang as fast as he could. Clap. 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 His speed was much faster than Dongbo Shuang. If he were to get close to Dongbo Shuang, it would be impossible for him to shake him off. His 4 arms slapped furiously, and every single slap was extremely powerful. Dongbo Shuang could only defend against it. Because if he didn't defend, the palm would land on his body, and through the spear, he would be heavily injured. If the palm landed on his body, he would probably die instantly. This was an extremely barbaric method of battle. Previously, both parties were still comparing their battle techniques. The 4-armed old man thought that with his rich experience, he should be able to win. But after fighting for a while, he gave up. He chose to use the most barbaric method. An earth-shattering palm slapped towards him. It was fast and ferocious. With his speed, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. He could only defend against it. But the 4 arms were slashing furiously, and he only had a single spear. How could he defend against it? With the hidden force behind the palm, he definitely wouldn't be able to defend against it. I can only attack. Dongbo Shuaying's eyes were filled with resolution. Attacking was the best defense, and the best defense. Fight! Hua, the spear in his hand spun, and the spear shot out like a flood dragon. The tricolored energies of water, fire, and wind revolved around the spear, intertwining together at the tip of the spear. Break for me. Facing the incoming palms that were filled with the aura of death, Dongbo Shuang only had one thought in his mind: break it. Break that palm. The surroundings suddenly turned silent. The space seemed to have stopped, and the flow of time seemed to have slowed down. The tricolored profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind converged at the tip of the spear. It was as though the heavenly lightning had triggered the earthly fire, and the 3 profound mysteries seemed to have some sort of special reaction. At the moment when they converged, Dongbo Shuang could vaguely see a world of nothingness, and within that world of nothingness, there was a gigantic sphere that was slowly rotating, boundless void. Regardless of time or space. In this gigantic sphere, everything was converging, and everything was converging at a single point. This point was the beginning of everything, and it was also the end of everything. Chapter 156. Dongbo Shuang. Mountain Road Mission. Si Kong Yang, the demigod overlord who stood at the peak of this world, was also stunned. His thoughts were in chaos, and it took him a full breath of time to calm down. One could not blame him for losing his composure. This news was simply too shocking. If it was an ordinary transcendent, they might not understand what the Mountain Road mission entailed. However, as the person in charge of the Scarlet Cloud Mountain World, he was very clear on what the Mountain Road mission entailed. The more he understood how inconceivable it was for Dongbo Shuang to be able to accomplish what he did. He completed the Mountain Road mission. How is this possible? Si Kong Yang could not help but ask. This news was transmitted by the artifact spirit of the infernal palace. Logically speaking, it should not be wrong. However, this news was too important, so he had to confirm it again. Faction head Si Kong Yang, the news is correct. Substitute Elder Dongbu Shuang stepped onto the mountain road mission alone today. Furthermore, he has already killed a native transcendent who grasped the grade 7 true meaning of water waves, the artifact spirit replied. Really? He really completed it? Si Kong Yang had a strange expression on his face. He was filled with disbelief, excitement, and complicated emotions. There was even a trace of a bitter smile. This Dongbu Shuang is really a ruthless slap to my face. Si Kong Yang did not know whether to laugh or cry. He actually played such a trick. However, he did a good job. He did a good job. No matter what, Dongbu Shuang was still a member of his Water Taoist faction. Although he was very disappointed before, since Dongbu Shuang had walked on a path that was better than what he had originally planned, it was naturally worthy of praise. The mountain road mission was extremely difficult. Under normal circumstances, one would need to grasp the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning, choose the best weapon, have plenty of battle experience, and have a strong secret technique. In short, one would need to be fully prepared in order to have a chance of succeeding. If one grasped the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, it would be much easier to win. What about Dongbu Shuang? One must know that Shui Ying's weapons were quite ordinary. That spear of his was merely a low-grade saint-ranked weapon. The combat boots he was wearing were also quite ordinary. The only thing he had was a top-grade saint-ranked inner armor. Even so, it was still used to protect his life. Its help in attacking was negligible. In terms of battle experience, he could only be considered average. After all, he was too young and had too few life and death battles. Secret arts? It was ordinary. Like the Bloodshed Tavern and Temple of the Earth God, the Transcendents used deity-ranked secret techniques. Therefore, in terms of weapons, experience, and secret techniques, he could not be considered perfect. However, he still managed to complete the mountain path mission. This was too heaven-defying. Either that, or the embryonic form of the grade 3 true meaning that Dongbu Shuang had comprehended was very strange and could restrain that native transcendent. Either that, or Dongbu Shuang had comprehended the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. The embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. Si Kong Yang's heart trembled at the thought. Xia people had only comprehended a grade 2 true meaning since ancient times. In the records of the deity world, a grade 2 true meaning could be considered as a legendary true meaning. It was truly terrifying and powerful. The reason why he valued Du Ro Ro so much was because her profound mystery of time was a grade 2 true meaning. Currently, she was only at the second level of the myriad existences realm. In the future, her chances of comprehending a grade 2 true meaning was less than 10%. But the embryonic form of a true meaning was different. The moment one grasped the embryonic form of a true meaning, as long as one spent some time, it would be easy to perfect it. Dongbu Shuang was currently extremely young. According to his age, he would only need to spend a few more decades before he could complete the embryonic form of a true meaning. I hope it's an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. I really hope so. Si Kong Yang was looking forward to it. His eyes were filled with hope. I was so close. I was so close to destroying him. Si Kong Yang rejoiced. Fortunately, Dongbu Shuang was so insistent. Otherwise, even if Dongbu Shuang grasped the true meaning of water and fire and became a demigod, he would only be able to reach Si Kong Yang's level. To the entire Xia people, Dongbu Shuang was only the icing on the cake. After all, there were still quite a few people at the level of Xia people. But if a demigod with a grade 2 true meaning was born, that would be different. Qiu Qibai was already considered to be the #1 demigod in the world. And if Dongbu Shuang had a grade 2 true meaning, he would truly dominate an era. At his peak, the demonic beast clan, demonic faction, and native transcendents would all cower and not dare to make a sound. Who? Si Kong Yang stood up. With a step, he disappeared from the study. Not only Si Kong Yang, 3 other demigods also received the news. They were the teachers in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world, Chiu Chi Bai and Gong Yu. And the Infernal Palace's palace master. Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Who? At the foot of the mountain path, the space distorted and 4 figures appeared one after another. Everyone is here. The black-haired old man revealed a smile. Palace head Chen, Chiu Chi Bai said, "Do you know what embryonic form of true meaning Brother Shuang has comprehended?" If it was a sword or some other thin weapon, it would be fine. If it was a space-type attack, it would be fine. Dongbo Shuang clearly used his long spear to pierce through the 4-armed old man. The long spear was so thick, but there weren't any visible wounds. Do you think that the 4-armed old man who died under this move was an embryonic form of a grade 2 or grade 1 true meaning? Gong Yu suddenly asked. It was because Chiu Chi Bai's true meaning of void cleavage was a true meaning that walked the path of extreme offense, causing it to be extremely frightening during battles. It was the same logic. The true meaning of extreme piercing was a grade 2 true meaning that walked the path of extreme offense. That was why the 4-armed old man felt that this embryonic form of a true meaning was too frightening. He even suspected that it was the embryonic form of a grade 1 true meaning. In reality, this was indeed the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. It was just that it was a true meaning that walked the path of extreme. The 3 profound mysteries of water, fire, and wind were fused in different ways, resulting in different results. Previously, when he fused them together, it allowed Dongbo Shuang to grasp the grade 3 true meaning of illusions, the embryonic form of the true meaning of illusions. At that time, Dongbo Shuang was not satisfied. Only now, when he fused them together, did Dongbo Shuang reach the pinnacle of perfection of the fusion of water, fire, and wind. Water, fire, and wind were destined to specialize in offense. In terms of defense and other aspects, they were still lacking. The true meaning of extreme piercing is already quite amazing. Dongbo Shuang frowned. His rationality told him that this was already very amazing. However, his heart was still not satisfied. What I'm pursuing is the pinnacle of spear techniques. In terms of offense, I'm very satisfied. But for a true pinnacle spear technique, just offense alone is enough? Dongbo Shuang shook his head. I'll continue to improve on the true meaning of extreme piercing, making it even stronger in terms of offense. However, the other aspects have to be perfected as well. After making up his mind, Dongbo Shuang took a step forward and flew out of the mountain peak. He arced across the sky and flew towards the bamboo house mountain in the distance. At this moment, the other 4 silhouettes flew over as well, heading towards Dongbo Shuang. Bamboo house mountain. Hot spring water permeated the air. Within a bamboo house, a purple-robed senior sister Zhuyi walked out of her house. She stood in the courtyard of her own bamboo house and looked at the beautiful scenery. She was in an extremely good mood. Big Brother Eternal Wind is such a good person. He's so diligent even when guiding others. Senior sister Zhuyi had a smile on her face. He doesn't have a wife either. I don't believe that he won't be moved after a long time. Zhuyi was very confident in herself. She had long since looked down on those transcendents in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. Situ Hong was an idiot who was fickle in love. That Dongbo Shuang might be young, but he had no future at all. Big Brother Eternal Wind is still the best. The more Zhuyi interacted with Chiu Chi Bai, the more she was infatuated with him. Chapter 158. Shui looked at it again and again. At this moment, her emotions were complicated. She had a good impression of this junior disciple of hers, Dongbu Shuang, because he was young and had decent looks. It was just that as Dongbu Shuang stubbornly walked down the wrong path in his cultivation, the two of them gradually drifted apart. Actually, if Dongbu Shuang was only ranked first, she would not be so shocked. However, completing the Mountain Road Life-Death mission had truly stimulated her. Because completing this mission meant that he should have grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning. She did not dare to think about the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning. However, once Dongbu Shuang grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 3 true meaning, it would not take long before he grasped the complete grade 3 true meaning. In the future, he might even be comparable to Qiu Qi Bai. Even Qiu Qi Bai did not grasp hold of a grade 3 true meaning so quickly. Dongbu Shuang was too young, and he might even be able to condense a grade 3 true meaning, the true deity heart. How could this be? Shui felt complicated. At this moment, she felt that the gap between them was no longer on the same level. Dongbu Shuang was destined to stand at the apex of the entire Xia people's world. Ha ha ha, it's just a small matter. I settled it in a single move. It's not worth mentioning. Within a private room of a restaurant in the Xia capital, Situ Hong was currently drinking wine with two other Sky Realm transcendents. To Brother Situ, it might be a small matter. However, to us, it was a life and death crisis. Fortunately, Brother Situ came with us to accept the mission. Otherwise, one of us would have died. The black plump man beside him laughed. Come come come, let's drink. We won't say much about this life-saving grace. We'll remember it in our hearts. Drink. Drink. Brother Situ's combat power is truly unfathomable. Amongst the Sky Realm Transcendents, I'm afraid no one is stronger than you. From what I see, most middle-stage saints aren't Brother Situ's opponent. Middle-stage saint? I just want to temper myself during the Sky Realm so that my foundation will be more solid. If I really want to break through, I can break through at any time. Situ Hong boasted. The reason why he stayed at the Sky Realm was so that he could eat more precious spirit liquids in the Scarlet Cloud Mountain world. With his long time of cultivation and the fact that he had reached the third level of the profound mysteries of space, he was indeed able to break through at any time with his transcendent Do Qi. But he endured it. Enjoy those resources. Brother Situ is amazing. For the sake of a more solid foundation, you would rather stay longer. I'm impressed. The other two transcendents continued to flatter him. In the world of transcendence, strength still mattered. It should have been close to 15 years. The faction head had never given him a good attitude. It was only during the early days that he became amiable. Dongbu Shuang, Infernal Palace Lord Chen asked from the side, have you grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning? At that moment, Qiu Qi Bai, Si Kong Yang, and Gong Yu all stared at Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang was startled. The Infernal Palace treasure spirit definitely knew about his battle. This Palace Lord Chen probably knew about the general situation as well. It's an embryonic form of a true meaning that has never been recorded in the history of the Xia people. Dongbu Shuang was very clear about when he should be high profile and when he should be low-key. It was fine for him to use his full strength in the transcendent battle of life and death. But a grade 2 true meaning, there was only one in the entire history of the Xia people. He had grasped hold of the embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning at such a young age. Would the Beast Clan and demonic faction not target him? I'm not sure what grade it is. I've named it True Meaning of Piercing. Dongbu Shuang introduced. When he displayed it, he could faintly sense the existence of extremity. Thus, Dongbu Shuang knew that this was a branch of the true meaning of extremity. He named it True Meaning of Extreme Piercing. Just from its appearance, it was hard to judge. After all, Nobody had seen it before. True meaning of piercing. Qiu Qibai nodded in agreement. It is indeed an embryonic form of a true meaning with terrifying piercing power. This name is indeed suitable. Si Kong Yang agreed. Can you demonstrate it one more time? Palace Lord Chen asked. Dongbo Shuang hesitated. He wanted to keep a low profile, but Palace Lord Chen's status was special. He was also absolutely loyal to the Xia people. Since he had opened his mouth, demonstrate it one more time. Everyone here is trustworthy, Qiu Qibai said. Furthermore, the moment it was confirmed that this was an embryonic form of a grade 2 true meaning, Palace Lord Chen would bestow some true treasures to the Xia people. At that time, Dongbo Shuiying's survival would definitely not be a problem. Alright. Dongbo Shuiying did not decline anymore. He extended his finger and lightly pierced through the void in front of him. Hua layer after layer of space was pierced through. Every energy in the world, including time, was like a wave that avoided it. Everything was pierced through, and even the flow of time was affected. Qi Qiubai, Palace Lord Chen, Si Kong Yang, and Gong Yu were all mesmerized by this simple demonstration. They could feel the profound mysteries contained within. All energy can be pierced through. Qi Qiubai muttered, it seems like all the profound mysteries that I can sense have been pierced through. No wonder I can't see any injuries. Only when you have truly grasped hold of a grade 2 true meaning will you have the confidence to deal with those demigods. Understood. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Of course, no matter how careful we are, the secret could still be leaked. Palace Lord Chen continued, therefore, we must plan for two options. These two treasures were left behind by the ancestors of the Xia people who became gods. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes lit up. This ring is a protective treasure refined by the Purple Thunder Emperor after he became a god. Palace Lord Chen said. As long as you drip a drop of blood on it, you can control it. When you meet with danger, you can activate it with just a thought. It will immediately form a purple lightning barrier around your body, filled with endless life force. It is comparable to a full-powered attack from the Purple Thunder Emperor. If the demigods want to destroy this purple lightning barrier, they will need the time taken to brew a cup of tea. However, once the energy contained within it is exhausted, it will become useless. Thus, it is a one-time use item. Dongbo Shuang sighed in admiration. The Purple Thunder Emperor? Wasn't that the Purple Thunder Emperor, Yao Qingtian, who took it upon himself to save lives? The true meaning of purple thunder he cultivated was a combination of lightning and life force, a grade 3 true meaning. Becoming a deity with a grade 3 true meaning was already extremely powerful. His all-out protection was indeed enough to make demigods despair. It was normal for them to use all their strength to attack crazily for the time taken to brew a cup of tea. However, this item needs to be activated with a thought. We are worried that you will be attacked and will not be able to react in time, Palace Lord Qin said. Thus, we still have another clan protection treasure. Clan protection treasure. Dongbo Shuang looked at the seemingly ordinary green-gray bracelet. This is a unique treasure sent back from the deity world by Emperor Yunhai. Palace Lord Qin said, this bracelet may seem ordinary, but as long as you drip a drop of blood on it, it will recognize you as its owner. It is quite intelligent, and the moment you meet with danger, it will automatically protect you. Don't worry, it is extremely powerful. All sorts of sinister and strange attacks from demigods will not escape its detection. The moment danger appears, it will immediately protect you. Dongbo Shuang felt quite touched. He had displayed his potential, and the Xia people were still putting in a lot of effort to nurture him. Although the ring left behind by the Purple Thunder Emperor was precious, it was still acceptable. As for the seemingly ordinary bracelet, it was known as the Clan Protection Treasure. Accept it. Palace Lord Qin smiled. Alright, Dongbo Shuang did not reject it. he understood it himself. The more benefits he received from the Xia people, the more responsibilities he had to bear. Towards this, Dongbu Shuang did not back down. Very quickly, he dripped his blood on it and recognized it as its owner. Dongbu Shuang could still sense and control the ring, but the green-gray bracelet seemed to be unwilling to communicate with Dongbu Shuang. This was normal. One must know that Dongbu Shuang was only a sky-rank transcendent. His transcendent battle chi was unable to activate a demigod equipment. A sky-rank transcendent could only activate a saint-rank weapon at most. A saint-rank transcendent could only activate a demigod equipment at most. Only demigods could use demigod equipment. Thus, a unique treasure that could protect a sky-rank transcendent was extremely rare. Only the Xia people had a deep foundation. If it was the demonic beast clan, they would not be able to casually give away two such precious treasures. Oh right, Snow Eagle, with your current strength, you might even be able to challenge the 100 Battles Chamber. Qi Qiubai smiled. When do you intend to challenge it? That's right. You have cultivated for less than 60 years. The moment you clear the 100 Battles Chamber, the rewards will be extremely high. Si Kong Yang's eyes lit up. 100 Battles Chamber. If a sky-rank transcendent under 60 years old could clear the 100 Battles Chamber, the reward would be 100,000 contribution points. This was because the difficulty of the 100 Battles Chamber was comparable to the mountain road. To be able to complete it before 60 years old, how monstrous must one be? How talented must one be? After 3,000 years of cultivation, how powerful must one be? It was normal to give such a reward. In the past 100,000 years, no one from the Xia people had managed to do it. Dongbu Shuang was very young and his strength was almost sufficient. There was indeed hope for him to do it. There's no rush. Dongbu Shuang smiled. The 100 Battles Chamber can only be attempted once every 10 years. Before 60 years old, I only have one chance left. Naturally, the more confident I am, the better. I am prepared to cultivate for a while longer before attempting it. Calm enough. That's right. You can only attempt it once every 10 years. You have to be careful. Qi Qiubai said. Even if you succeed in the future, there's no need to announce it. It's better to keep it a secret. Palace Lord Qin said. I will also ask the weapon spirit to pay attention and conceal your battle movements. N. Dongbu Shuang could feel Palace Lord Chen's concern for him. After all, passing the 100 Battles Chamber before 60 years old was a very eye-catching feat. It was obvious that Palace Lord Chen wanted Dongbu Shuang to keep a low profile. Only when he grasped the true meaning would it be suitable for him to reveal his true strength. Time continued to flow like water, slipping away quietly. No one could nitpick on Dongbu Ying's current cultivation. He could continue to immerse himself in his spear arts. The moment they entered the mortal world, they turned into streams of light and disappeared in all directions. Suddenly, space distorted. A human woman emitting a dazzling purple light appeared out of nowhere. When she saw the scene in front of her, her expression changed and she angrily shouted, "Evil demons! All of you, die!" Boom! Countless dazzling purple flames covered the sky and swept in all directions. In an instant, some of the weaker evil demons were turned into ashes. Then, a tall evil demon whose entire body was ice blue reached out with his palm. After his palm struck out, the space around him started to freeze. The freezing spread out and directly collided with the endless purple flames. In an instant, the two forces sizzled and continuously consumed each other. It's a divine weapon. It's a human demigod transcendent. This mortal world is our hunting ground. However, we must be careful of the human transcendence here. Let's go. The tall evil demon resisted for a moment. Very quickly, he took a step forward and disappeared. At this moment, the deep spatial crack had already started to close up. Only a few evil demons were still crazily trying to enter the mortal world of the Xia people. Some were directly crushed by the closing spatial crack, letting out howls of unwillingness. Damn it, evil demons, die for me. The eyes of City Lord Bu, who was bathed in purple light, were filled with killing intent and anger. Countless purple flames surged in all directions, burning the slow-escaping evil demons to ashes. The surroundings were silent. However, even more powerful evil demons had already infiltrated the mortal world. This time, the spatial crack that led to the dark abyss is too big. There are too many evil demons here. Furthermore, the powerful evil demon that I fought just now was actually able to resist the might of a divine weapon. City Lord Bu, who was bathed in purple light, had an ashen expression. She did not dare to delay and immediately sent the news back to the infernal palace, informing all the demigods of the Xia people. End of this chapter. Has everyone cast their monthly votes? Please vote and support us. Powerful demigods were not only strong, they could easily travel through the void. They're here. Some family members have arrived. Following the arrival of the first batch of family members, the Transcendents hurriedly went forward to welcome them as they arrived at the World Gate. Dongbo Shuang, Jing Qiu and the rest stood in mid-air, looking at the World Gate on a distant mountain. Currently, there were a few family members entering the infernal world through the World Gate. They waited patiently. Occasionally, the family members of the Transcendents from a province would be sent over together. The Tranquil Sun province is here. Dongbo Shuang, Jing Qiu, Yuan Qing, Chengling Shu and the rest were all shocked. A group of figures could be seen passing through the World Gate. Mother. Jing Qiu immediately flew over to welcome the Yu family. Dongbo Shuang's eyes suddenly lit up. He saw his family members within the group. A rather sturdy man and a purple-robed lady walked over shoulder to shoulder. Beside them, there was a six-armed serpent demon and a lion man's family. On the other side, there was the extremely handsome Qing Shi and his companions. There were 2 female companions and 1 male companion. Big brother. Qing Shi shouted loudly. Snow Eagle. His mother, Mo Yangyu, also smiled and shouted. She wasn't happy because she was able to escape. In truth, although there were many demons, the world of the Xia people was too vast. Those who actually met demons were extremely few. In fact, Mo Yangyu and the rest lived in the remote territory of the Snow Eagle. Qing Shi also lived in the Eternal Wind Academy. They had yet to feel the threat of the demons. They were even happier to see Dongbo Shuang. After all, it had been a long time since they last met. Dongbo Shuang was in an extremely good mood when he saw these extremely important family members. With a single glance, he discovered that his little brother Qing Shi seemed to have a very close relationship with one of the female companions. Who? Dongbo Shuang immediately flew over to welcome his family members. Chapter 7. The first appearance of greatness begins. Chapter 162. Dongbo Shuang and many other transcendents were not in a good mood after knowing that a demon had descended upon the human world. However, at this moment, after receiving his loved ones, he could not suppress the joy in his heart. That mansion is my residence in the Xia capital. Dongbo Shuang brought his parents and a group of people along as they flew through the air. Using the energy of heaven and earth, Dongbo Shuang pointed towards the mansion. It's quite big. It feels even more exquisite than our Snowrock castle. Snow Eagle, don't you feel empty living in such a big mansion by yourself? Mo Yangyu looked at the mansion curiously. Mother. Qing Shi shouted from the side, I heard that the mansions of the Transcendents in the Xia capital all have a large group of servants. With so many servants, naturally it won't feel empty. As he said this, Qing Shi looked at the majestic city in front of him curiously. This was the core and most important city of the Xia people. Not only was Qing Shi curious, but his other family members were also very curious. This was because they had never been to the Xia capital before. However, due to the extraordinary status of Dongbu's family, they knew that the Xia capital was special. Almost half of the transcendents of the Xia people were gathered here. There was even a large group of legend powerhouses here. Let's go down. Dongbu Shuang brought his family members and flew downwards, landing in front of the main entrance of his mansion. The main entrance of the mansion was wide open, and there was a large group of guards by the side. Housekeeper Su Qin had already brought a large group of maids to wait respectfully at the main entrance. Greetings, Master. Su Qin opened her mouth, and all the maids shouted in unison. There are so many of them, at least 1,000. Qing Shi's eyes widened. They are all maids. A young lady beside Qing Shi laughed softly. Qing Shi's other pair of companions were similarly shocked. Not to mention the others, even Dongbu Lai and Mo Yang Yu were shocked. With a single glance, they could tell that housekeeper Su Qin and the large group of maids were all above average in terms of appearance. Some of them were extremely beautiful, and all of them were well behaved. Unlike Snowrock Castle, which still had some rough and clumsy maids. It's all arranged by the Infernal Palace. Dongbu Shuang laughed. Come on in. Su Qin, go and make arrangements for the banquet. Yes, Master, housekeeper Su Qin replied respectfully. Back then, she had thought that her master would do something to her, but after more than 20 years, it was clear that she had been wrong. However, she also liked this kind of peaceful life. Night. In the main hall of the mansion, everyone had a table in front of them, and they all sat cross-legged. The seating arrangement was also relatively casual, and there was no distinction of seniority.